Several tech companies have been accused of aiding foreign governments who are attempting to stifle dissent in the countries. This is awful. This is the worst. I mean, this is the worst I think I could say. Twitter, you take the story. Twitter.
Yeah, a Twitter employee who left back in 2015, but for several years had been working, being bribed essentially by the Saudi Arabian government because they had come and done a tour of Twitter headquarters. They met this guy and they worked out an agreement with him through emails and secret phone calls for him to provide information on political dissidents. Anyone criticizing Saudi Arabia, this guy who worked at Twitter, he has dual U.S. and Lebanese citizenship. He was searching for his name because it's very difficult to pronounce.
$300,000. Well, the point is, he was given $300,000.
Right, and he would send, here's their location, here was their last IP address, so that the government could do, I don't know, maybe whatever it is the Saudi Arabian government has been known to do to dissidents. Yeah. And that is terrifying. And this employee of Twitter aided and abetted it. He's now facing 23 criminal counts.
Emails, addresses, phone numbers, data over everything that's being transmitted by these dissidents. And you don't think the royal family is going to deal with that? You know, Twitter cannot sit back and say it's okay.
Right.
This is one hell of a lawsuit. And somebody needs to pull that trigger because this, matter of fact, the Yahoo case is another example. Yahoo's the same thing. Yahoo, a friend of mine's actually handled that case, a guy named Mark Lanier, very good trial lawyer, and he's going to bust them up. Talk about his story.
Yeah, this one, it's very similar. You had survivors of the Tiananmen Square massacre who had been criticizing the Chinese government outside of the country. Yahoo comes in and says, hey, China, we want to be allowed in your country. You don't allow us right now. So what if we give you the names of dissidents? What if we tell you where these people are in exchange for being allowed to operate in China? China says, okay, that's a great idea. Yahoo starts feeding them all of this information about these dissidents. This one in particular, he was rounded up, driven 50 hours.
Black site.
Deprived of sleep, torture, all kinds of horrendous actions because Yahoo made it happen.
Yeah, well, there's no question. Yahoo actually had a deal. What they were trying to do is expand. It's all about money, Farron. It's all about money. We'll help you, China, if you will help us expand. We'll help you, China, if you will do A, B, and C. There's an arm's-length transaction, and the folks, the leadership, the very top, the owners, the CEOs of Yahoo said, "This, we're going to allow it to happen." This guy spends 2 years in prison. He gets out of prison. They arrest him again. They burn his house down. They threaten his family. They take a couple of them off and threaten them. This guy's brought a lawsuit. I just can't wait to see the result. Bodily, you know, he has a loss of bodily functions. He has disfigurement. The damages are huge in this case. And I don't, you know what? I know the players involved here. I know Mark very well. He tries cases with me. He's gonna rock their world, and maybe somebody will get it, huh?
Well, you know, these social media giants have been going through all these extra steps to try to label people that they think are somehow affiliated with foreign governments when they really need to be looking inside themselves.
Yeah.
Because these are the people who are legitimately working for foreign governments to get people killed.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Right. Thank you for joining me, Farron.
Thank you.
Social media has been under fire for silencing conservative voices, and now several attorney generals are joining Trump in a push to regulate these online platforms. I've got legal journalist Molly Barrows with me. Molly, who are the AGs that are jumping in on this? Because, I mean, this, as I look at this, this has potential to be a real big problem for social media.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how far this particular petition goes down the line. Now, going back to the AGs, there are 4 AGs that are supporting this petition that Donald Trump has asked the Commerce Department to file, basically to put regulation of what, to make it more transparent, the regulation process that social media companies use when they're either taking down tweets or telling people that, you know, whatever social media post they put on there, to make it transparent about why they have regulated a certain bit of information. but it's 4 Republican AGs from Louisiana, Texas, Indiana, and Missouri, and they are supporting his bid to potentially put this underneath the FCC's regulation to hold these basically different social media accounts providers accountable for whenever they take steps to regulate. Of course, all this came after.
Yeah, let me tell you where I think this heads. I don't think it just heads where the end of this process is. They have to change the way they do business. I think these AGs understand that if they can find something to penalize them, to come up with you owe us this much money.
You're responsible somehow.
These guys aren't going to do this for nothing.
Right.
They're not going to do it simply because Trump's asking them to. What they're seeing is some penalties that at the end of this case they think they're going to be able to put together. That would be my guess. And they have the ability to use criminal investigations because they're the Attorney General. So they have the right to use criminal investigations to get to material that ordinarily we might not be able to get to. So I see this as a lot bigger threat to the tech companies. What's been the response by the FCC in this? I mean, what's the FCC
Well,
saying
the chairman is Ajit Pai, and he has been associated with a number of...
Complete jerk, by the way.
That's a good way to put it.
Absolutely
he
jerk.
was in the pocket of a number of high-powered media companies, if you will, when they were looking to bend the rules. It used to be that only a certain number of stations could be owned, for example, by a company in any particular market, and he was instrumental in having some of those rules changed so that particular media companies could own more than one outlet in a
his
market.
goal, Pai's goal is to make it impossible for somebody that has a social media platform to compete with MSNBC, CNN, all the big networks. If you go now, just tell you the impact of it now, if you will go now and look at some of the stories that are coming out from just a credible social media platform, you will see underneath those stories covered up with MSNBC, CNN, ABC, all the big networks. Pai brought that about because of the way that he's maneuvering this.
Well, he's not commented on this in particular. He's basically going to put it up for public review. Typically, the FCC doesn't regulate. He has said before that they're not in a position to necessarily, it shouldn't be their job to regulate social media platforms. And I don't agree, though. I think it's a threat to the exact opposite of what this man who talks about fake news. I feel like it's the exact opposite. He is empowering whichever political office happens to be in power at the time to basically say, hey, you're going to take down my tweet.
Right.
I don't like it. I'm calling you fake news, when he's the one that is the biggest liar of them all. I mean, if his pants were on fire, they'd stay that way.
Yeah. So the point comes, the point is, though, that you can't ignore the danger. I think this is what you're saying.
And I do agree with you.
You can't ignore the danger of democracy is built on an open discussion,
right?
Whether you agree with it or not,
yes,
Molly.
100%.
I mean, you might totally hate everything he has to say,
but he has a right to say it.
He has a right to say it.
We had this same debate with the debate about Penthouse Magazine.
Exactly. And why is it that who are the people that judge the ideology and say, no, this is not acceptable and this is acceptable?
Right.
Look, you've had so many writers talk about the dangers of having these gatekeepers that make a decision what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
And that's very true.
The market takes care of itself.
Right.
If you put it out there and it's so crazy that the market rejects it, that's part of the process.
Well, and part of the process too is when the market accepts it. That's how we got this guy in the White House.
Well, okay, so that is how we work in a democracy.
You're right.
We put
it's still up to the
ideas
individual
out,
to decide.
and as much, I don't have any love for this guy at all.
Right.
I mean, zero. But I do have love for the democratic process. I have love for the idea that journalism requires an open discussion.
Well, and then you're right. And they have outlets to hold accountable these outlets that put out misinformation deliberately. And it's, libel lawsuits and the like. So I'm with you, though. Whether it's good or bad, I don't think that regulation for free speech is good.
Idea of shutting down speech is very dangerous.
Right. Agreed.
Thanks for joining me, Molly.
Thanks, Pat.